ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਸਿੱਖ ਚੈਨਲ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਸ਼ ਵਿਦੇਸ਼ ਤੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੇ ਆ, ਅਮਰਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਦੀ ਪਿਆਰ ਭਰੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਪ੍ਰਵਾਨ ਹੋਵੇ। ਅੱਜ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਖਾਸ ਮਹਿਮਾਨ ਸ਼ਾਮਿਲ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਬ੍ਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਈਸਟ ਰਾਈਡਿੰਗ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨਸ ਦੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਤੋਂ MP ਉਮੀਦਵਾਰ ਨੇ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਆਫ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ, ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਆ ਰਾਜ ਗਰੇਵਾਲ। ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਤੇ
How are you?
I'm doing very well, sir.
Yeah, how's the election campaign treating you so far?
It's going so well, I can't complain. Every day is better than the last, and the momentum's picking up, and people really want real change, and Brampton East is looking very good.
Excellent. Now, Raj, since it's the first time that you're running,
yes,
I want people to know you, and let me give you a little background about this show. So yes, in your writing, it'll be shown.
Yeah.
It's very much liked, but this show is also going to be shown online and also throughout the world,
okay,
as
excellent.
wherever Sikh channel reaches out.
Yes.
So tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I'm born and raised in Canada. I've lived in Brampton East for the last 24 years. I went to middle school there. I went to high school there. I played hockey on its streets and soccer in its parks. I did my MBA from the Schulich School of Business and my law degree from Osgoode Hall Law School. I currently practice corporate law at one of the biggest firms in the world. And over the last 10 years, I've been volunteering with the Liberal Party of Canada in various roles. And over 2 years ago, we made a decision when the new riding of Brampton East was created, to put our hat in the ring. And the community's been very, very supportive. And now we're running in the general election, and we can't complain. The numbers are looking good. We've been door knocking for the last 6 months, and the people of Brampton East, they really like the fact that I've been living in the riding for the last 24 years, that I put my personal cell phone on each candidate flyer, and it's about adequate representation to ensure that future generations have the same opportunity that I did, the same opportunity to attend some of the best schools in this nation and achieve their very own Canadian dream.
That's excellent. Now, Raj, you're highly qualified, and your educational and the institutions you have attended, they're one of the best in Canada. What brought you to politics? Why politics for you?
I think it's about giving back to a community that gave me so much, right? I never forget where I came from. Daddy ji ne taxi chalaiya, mummy ne factory de vich kam kita. We can never forget that ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੀ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮੌਕਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਇੱਥੇ ਕਾਮਯਾਬ ਹੋਣ ਨੂੰ, ਖਾਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਭਾਈਚਾਰੇ ਨੂੰ, that ਹੁਣ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮੌਕਾ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਪੜ੍ਹਨ ਨੂੰ ਬਿਕਾਜ਼ ਸਾਡੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਨੇ ਮਿਹਨਤ ਕੀਤੀ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਕੇ ਮਿਹਨਤ ਕੀਤੀ, ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੁਣ ਡਾਕਟਰ, ਲਾਇਰਸ, ਇੰਜੀਨੀਅਰਸ ਬਣਦੇ ਆ, ਅਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮੌਕਾ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਪੋਲੀਟਿਕਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ that ਅਸੀਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ that ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅਗਲੀ ਜਨਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਆਵੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਮੌਕੇ ਮਿਲੇ। ਪਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ 10 ਸਾਲ ਹਾਰਪਰ ਦੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਰਹਿ ਗਈ, ਉਹ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨਾਲ it's becoming more and more difficult to achieve the Canadian dream. That if you ask me honestly, if my parents immigrated today in 2015, my story is impossible 35 years from now. That the story in essence, the Canadian dream, is that the son of a taxi cab driver and a factory worker can run for a seat in the House of Commons. And no other country is our story even possible. And that's why we're running. We're running to ensure that the Canadian dream is alive and well for future generations.
Oh, that's excellent. Now you're running from Brampton East,
yes,
and it's a it's very diverse,
yes,
but it's a huge South Asian and especially Sikh population in
yes,
that riding. And now you've been campaigning very hard,
yes,
over about 2 years now.
2 years now, yes.
Tell us what the concerns and issues that you're hearing from your constituents.
The concerns are mostly on the economy today. The reason being is that Canada is the only country in the G7 that's in a recession. The second most issue is immigration. People have seen over the last 10 years what the Harper government has done to immigration. For example, on the super visa. They brought it in with all this ribbon cutting and excitement. 2 or 3 problems with the super visa. One is that they don't give it to anybody. The rejection rate is quite high. Secondly, the people that do get it, the insurance requirement is so high that an average person can't afford it. Then, if you move on to the next file, a family unification. The wait time was 24 to 18 months before, and now the wait time is 5 years from India, and that's totally unacceptable. Then on citizenship, the fee was $100 before, and now it's $630. And then they implemented BC-24, which goes against the rule of law and arbitrarily gives the power to a minister to take away your citizenship. So the Harper government has had a 10-year track record of fear and division politics. ਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਡੋਰ ਟੂ ਡੋਰ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਇਲਾਕੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਲੋਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇੰਨਾ ਧੱਕਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ, ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਧੱਕਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ। ਤਾਂ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਤੇ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਇੰਨਾ ਵਧੀਆ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਪਲੇਟਫਾਰਮ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਏ ਆ, ਖਾਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਸਟਿਨ ਟਰੂਡੋ ਬ੍ਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਕੇ ਅਨਾਉਂਸ ਕੀਤਾ ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਮੈਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ that ਉਸ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਸੁਣ ਕੇ ਸੋਚ ਸਮਝ ਕੇ ਪਲੇਟਫਾਰਮ ਰਿਲੀਜ਼ ਕੀਤਾ that ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਫੋਕਸ ਹੋਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਯੂਨੀਫਿਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਤੇ ਫੋਕਸ ਹੋਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਅੱਜ 5000 ਐਪਲੀਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਦਾ ਕੈਪ ਆ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਯੂਨੀਫਿਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹ 10000 ਤੱਕ ਕਰਨਾ ਸੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ that ਲੋਕ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਣਗੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਨੂੰ ਤੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਵੀ ਇਹੀ ਸਟੋਰੀ ਆ that ਅਸੀਂ ਕਾਮਯਾਬ ਕਾਹਤੋਂ ਹੋਏ ਮੰਮੀ ਡੈਡੀ ਨੇ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਤੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਦਾਦੀ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਾਲਿਆ ਤੇ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ that ਰਲ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ ਆਈਏ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਡਿਪੈਂਡੈਂਟ ਏਜ ਹਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਦੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ 19 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੱਕ ਕਰਤੀ ਸੀਗੀ ਉਹ ਅਸੀਂ 22 ਤੱਕ ਕਰ ਦੇਣੀ ਆ ਸੋ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿ ਗਏ ਰਾਈਟ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਹੁਣ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਕਲਾਸ ਨਾਲ ਆਉਣਗੇ ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਚੰਗੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਆ ਆਪਣੇ ਭਾਈਚਾਰੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਤੇ ਸਾਰੀ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਿਟੀਜ਼ਨਸ਼ਿਪ ਫੀ ਵੀ ਰਿਡਿਊਸ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਪਾਊਸਲ ਸਪਾਂਸਰਸ਼ਿਪ ਦੀ 2 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਵੇਟ ਆ ਅੱਜ ਪਰਮਨੈਂਟ ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਸੀ ਦੀ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਐਲੀਮੀਨੇਟ ਕਰ ਦੇਣੀ ਆ ਤੇ ਬਿੱਲ C-24 ਜਿਹੜਾ ਡੂਅਲ ਸਿਟੀਜ਼ਨਸ਼ਿਪ ਐਕਟ ਕਿਹਾ ਗਿਆ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਡਿਲੀਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਦਿਨ ਤੇ ਜਸਟਿਨ ਟਰੂਡੋ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਬਣਦਾ ਅਕਤੂਬਰ 19 ਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਬਿੱਲ ਡਿਲੀਟ ਹੋਣਗਾ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਆ ਉਹ ਫੇਅਰ ਹੋਣਗੀ ਸੋ ਖਾਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਕਹੀਆਂ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਯੂਨੀਫਿਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਡਿਪੈਂਡੈਂਟ ਏਜ ਇਨਕਰੀਜ਼ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਸਿਟੀਜ਼ਨਸ਼ਿਪ ਫਾਈਲ ਫੇਅਰ ਹੋਣਗਾ ਉਹਦੀ ਫੇਅਰ ਫੀਸ ਹੋਣਗੀ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਪਾਊਸਲ ਸਪਾਂਸਰਸ਼ਿਪ ਦੀ 2 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਵੇਟ ਆ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਐਲੀਮੀਨੇਟ ਕਰ ਦਾਂਗੇ
That's right. Okay, now you touched upon all the big macro issues, and I think you summed them up so well. And thank you for doing that. Now, I want to go into all these issues individually. Let's talk about economy first.
No problem.
Let's talk about the general picture.
Yeah.
Now, the Liberal Party is the only party that's actually proposed a deficit.
Yes.
The other two parties are expecting and promising a surplus.
Yes.
What led the leader of the party's strategy to actually suggest we're going to lead to a deficit?
Yeah. So I think we need to take a step back and look at the economic factors today, right? The only country in a recession, right? The first 6 months in Canada's GDP growth has been 0.8% decline in the first 3 months, 0.5 decline in the second 3 months. So when you have 2 terms of consecutive decline, you're in a recession. And that's by the government's definition of what a recession
That's
is.
newly created definition too.
Newly created definition. So we're in a recession. But the more telling story, Virji, is that if you look to our neighbors in the south, America, in the first 6 months, they'd have positive 4% GDP growth. We have a 7% unemployment rate. America has a 5% unemployment rate. Youth unemployment is 13.1% in Canada, and in America it's 11%. And the Harper government hasn't done anything to address any of these issues, and they're not willing to invest in Canada and invest in Canadians. We've seen the Harper track record. It's the worst job growth record since World War II, and the worst growth record since Prime Minister R.B. Bennett in the middle of the Great Depression. So those are the facts. The Harper economy, the Harper economic policies just aren't working. The Liberal Party is saying that in order to stimulate the economy, we need to invest in the economy. We need to spend money on infrastructure. Hence why we've announced this historical infrastructure fund of $125 billion. And that's not just me saying it or Justin saying it. If you look at independent economists, they've endorsed our plan. The mayor of the city of Brampton, Linda Jeffries, has endorsed our plan because she knows it's good for Brampton. The mayor of Toronto, John Tory, has endorsed our plan because he knows it's good for Toronto. More importantly, Larry Summers, the president of Harvard University, a world-renowned economist and the former secretary of the US Treasury, has, quote, in order to get an economy out of a recession, the only way the government can do it is by spending money on infrastructure. This is going to lead to better transit, more affordable housing, more childcare spaces, and better job growth. And within that plan, we also have a specific plan to combat youth unemployment. $1.3 billion to ensure that young Canadians, and that's 13 times more than the NDP has promised, 40,000 jobs for young Canadians targeted directly in high needs areas. More importantly, every federal department will hire co-op students. When you go talk to young Canadians, one of the biggest things they say is that they lack experience, and without experience, they cannot get jobs. The government the Liberal Party Canada, when they form government, will invest in young Canadians. Every federal department will hire co-op students. Any private business that hires a co-op student, the first $5,000 of their salary will be paid by the federal government. This is going to ensure that we create almost another 35,000 co-op positions. So this is going to have a direct impact on the youth unemployment rate at 13%, and more of a direct impact on the Peel region unemployment rate, which is at 17%. So this investment is actually really needed, not only in Brampton East, but across our country.
Oh, wow, and that's very relevant to your writing as
Yes,
well, right?
yes.
Because I think it's 19% hovering around that,
Yes,
around in
yes.
your
17 to
writing.
19%.
17 to 19%, those are the numbers. Now, very well. Now, the other thing, the infrastructure growth.
Yes.
Brampton East is one of those ridings. Talking about on a federal level, it's more of a housing community.
Yes.
There's small businesses, but the huge chunk is basically the revenue growth, I think, is coming from the development projects from housing and real estate. What vision do you have for your riding? Should you get elected, or if you get elected as the next MP?
No, I think the first thing we need to note is to ensure that you send your voice to Ottawa, right? Not Harper's voice back in the riding. And that's what's been happening for the last 10 years. No MP is able to speak, no minister is able to speak. It's a one-man show. And democracy doesn't work like that. So the people of Brampton East, they want a representative that's lived their problems, that's in it with that, together with them. And that comes from our story, because we've been living in the riding for the last 24 years. And when we go door to door, this really comes up to say that, adequate representation. Right? Taking your voice to Ottawa to ensure Brampton East gets its fair share. My vision for Brampton East is to ensure that not only do the citizens of Brampton East have a representative that they can call their own, but that's very accessible. To say that you can call them, you can talk to them directly, you can meet them whenever you want. But the vision for the riding itself is to ensure that, it's not just a place where you come home and sleep. It's not just a place that it takes an hour and a half from to get to downtown, another hour and a half to get back, and you spend 3 hours of your day in a commute. I want to make it a family atmosphere to ensure that families are growing. It's a sense of community. Like when I was young and I was growing up, if I made a mistake at the park and the neighbors saw it, they went and told my parents. It takes a community to raise a child, and that's where we need to get Brampton East to go. And that's how, it's never been about individual success. It's about collective success. That if my neighbor is not doing well, or a child in Brampton East is struggling reading or struggling getting a job, that's a community problem and not just that child's problem. And that's the type of culture that we want to foster in our riding, and that's what we hope to take to Ottawa.
And it's kind of surprises me that Brampton, although it's more city level and provincial level issues, but Brampton's such a big city. I mean, Mississauga is another suburb of Toronto. It has the UTM Mississauga campus. Then you go to York region, they have York University. And Brampton, I think, is a very big city of substantial size, but they don't have any educational institutions at a higher level. They have a couple of colleges, that's pretty much it. So no, the need for a university is coming up quite a bit at the door, and we will do everything we can at the federal level to ensure that Brampton gets its fair share of funding to help support a university. The problem goes back to adequate representation. Now, I don't want to talk bad about anybody, but our former MP in Brampton East was the Minister of Sports. The Pan Am Games came through Ontario, and Brampton didn't have one stadium built, not one infrastructure fund that was allocated to the city, and not one event held. So there was no economic benefit for our city. And it goes back to ensuring that you listen to your constituents and take their voice to Ottawa. So when it comes to the university, you have to be able to work with the province and the city. The Harper government has not met with the premiers in 10 years. Right? Justin Trudeau has said that he will meet with the premiers within the first 6 months, because the way Canada is built, this confederation system that we have, 10 provinces and 3 territories, it's about working collectively. And I always say that in Brampton East, I will work with whoever is willing to work, irrespective of political ideology, to ensure that we make the lives of the people of Brampton East better. Whether it's with the MPP, the city councilor, the regional councilor, the school trustee, it's about ensuring that we can help our people. So, you go door to door, and it might be a municipal issue or a provincial issue or maybe a school board issue. But people are tired of hearing, oh, this isn't a provincial issue, this isn't a municipal issue. They want results. And our jobs as people that are asking for their vote and asking for their trust is to help them solve their problems. And that's working together with people at different levels of government. Fair enough. Now, let's move on to immigration. It's a hot topic in this elections. And now you touched upon the dual citizenship process that's happening. Let me just start with that. The process as it stands now, that the government has the power to revoke citizenship status of any Canadian who has a dual citizenship. Well, any in a sense if they're convicted or of terrorism or such acts. And I think it goes beyond, well, specifically to your riding, as a
Yeah.
huge South Asian population,
Yeah.
ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਅਲਾਉ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦਾ dual citizen,
Yeah.
ਇਹਦੇ ਲਈ ਆਪਣੇ ਭਾਈਚਾਰੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਇਹਦਾ ਫਰਕ ਨਾ ਪਵੇ,
ਹਾਂਜੀ।
but there are other countries like Pakistan, a lot of Arab countries,
Yes.
even the UK,
Yes.
as you probably would have some family members who are from the UK, they have the British passport and the Canadian citizenship,
Yeah.
or vice versa, it can impact them.
Yes.
So, and you guys proposed you're going to repeal the bill.
Yes.
But when the bill was made, what was the level of opposition from the Liberal Party at that point? And that's what big critique that's come across.
Yes, no, I think that both parties are playing on people's fears, right? The Harper government over the last 10 years has played fear and division politics. And the NDP is doing the same, more of the same, saying that, we're going to turn into this police state. But we're trying to be honest with Canadians and have an honest dialogue with Canadians. And when it came to Bill C-24, the Liberal Party took a staunch position against it. And they also came out and clearly said that citizenship is a right, not a privilege that can arbitrarily be taken away. The reason that Canada has been so successful and the reason our parents have had so much success in this country is that we work on a concept of the rule of law. It's a fundamental principle of justice and fairness. The Harper government doesn't understand that. I always go back to it's a bullying approach to governing.
Right.
And the Liberal Party Canada understands that we got to ensure that we recognize the threats that our country faces, but we also got to ensure that we protect our civil liberties with a Charter of Rights
Right.
and Freedom. It's a balanced approach,
Absolutely.
right? And that's a discussion that you're willing to have with Canadians. And when it comes to C-24, it's an arbitrary notion. You're giving the power to one minister to revoke somebody's citizenship. And it's so unfair that if two Canadian citizens do the exact same act, one gets a different penalty and another gets a different penalty, right? That's not the Canada I know. That's not the Canada you know. That's not the Canada we want to
It's a two-tier system, honestly. And,
basically a two-tier system,
right?
yeah.
And now, Justin Trudeau lately has been very passionate about this.
Yes.
And in the debates, he went out of his way to correct Mr. Harper and also, this is Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian.
Yes.
Now, given that, now I know you guys are all about repealing that bill
Yes.
and making changes to that. But you do see that there's another system being created in the last round of debates. What we saw about there's like Islamophobia, very openly directed at Muslim constituents.
Yes.
And specifically in Quebec, but also there are a few residents around in your area
Yes.
as well. And this is just overlaid by this notion of old stock Canadians as
Yes.
proposed by the
Yes.
Prime Minister and
Yeah.
versus the new stock, I guess, which
Yeah.
are the immigrant kids. Now, the Liberal Party's actually stood up for immigrants for a very long period of time.
Long history,
Right,
yes.
and it's a long history with Pierre Trudeau, even not the Indian community, the South Asian community, the Greek, Portuguese.
Yes, no, 100%. He had a vision.
Right, and given that support level, how do you want to thread further once you're elected in the office? Well, you or your government is elected in the
Yes.
office.
So the Liberal Party has that rich history, right? Pierre Elliott Trudeau, when he was Prime Minister, he governed with a vision, right? And saying, what are we going to see Canada 20 years from now? And Justin Trudeau is governing with that same vision. And it's about ensuring that all Canadians, no matter their background, no matter their creed, no matter their religion, have an opportunity, if they work hard in this country, to make it, to have their success story. And I think the Harper government's made that more difficult because they're putting one area of the country against another, or one ethnic group against another, right? The niqab debate is a perfect example of a debate that should not be happening, right? We have freedom of religion entrenched in our charter. Now, the rights aren't guaranteed, but they're demonstrably justified in a free and democratic society. And wearing the niqab at a citizenship ceremony is a freedom of religion issue, and we will stand, with them for sure. And today's the niqab, tomorrow is the turban or the kippah or anything else that was an article of faith, and that's a slippery slope. And you do not want to go down that. And the debate has already been settled, but for some reason, the NDP and the Conservative parties in Quebec, right, will not come out on clear positions. The Conservative Party is always just pandering to our fears anyways, but the NDP is where it's sad. They're saying one thing in French Canada and another thing in English Canada. And that's where I think Canadians are starting to realize what the party's all about. It's a politically opportunist party. They'll tell you what they want to hear. The NDP and the Liberal Party is taking a clear position, whether it's on the Quebec Values Charter. Justin Trudeau was the first leader to come out and say that this is not Canadian. Whether it was a turban issue in the Quebec Soccer Federation, Justin Trudeau was the first leader to come out and say, this is not the Canada I know. Why are you picking up a child's right to play soccer? And then on the niqab, same thing. No government, no state should have the right to tell a woman what to wear. And that's the party's position. That's my position. And tomorrow it will be, the Gurbaan case got settled at the Supreme Court with Gurbaan Singh Multani. Right. And it was a good victory for all Canadians, not just the Sikh community, because freedom of religion is entrenched in our charter. The Liberal Party will be steadfast to protect that.
Fair enough. And now it's also, the way it's appearing now is you see Justin Trudeau coming, and it's some trace of his father getting out there and being aggressive. And we haven't seen that a lot lately. Well, previously, but lately he's come into that form. Is that a new strategy for the party right now to be more aggressive with the agenda in the last few days' elections?
No, I think it's just a momentum building, right? If you look at today's polls, right, the Liberal Party was at 35 points, Conservative Party was at 30, and the NDP is, in the low 20s, and they're slipping. And it's because Canadians are starting to pay attention to this very long campaign now, finally, and they're liking what Justin Trudeau has to say. The party's platform is very thought out. It's a great economic plan. It's investing in Canada when there's time to invest. We have low interest rates, low debt to GDP ratio, a very thought out immigration platform, investing in transit, increasing childcare spaces, reducing taxes on the top 1% of Canadians. Only party that's doing that, willing to increase taxes on top 1% of Canadians to give 90% Canadian families a tax break. We're increasing Canada Child Benefit by taking checks away from millionaires who don't need the help under the Conservative Party's plan. And the ironic thing is that the NDP supports their economic policies, right? And so, in this election, Canadians have a clear choice. And that's why the polls are moving, because it's either Harper's economics, which the NDP's endorsed, or a change, right? What the Liberal Party is the drastically new economic policies. And that's why we're doing so well, and that's why Justin has all this energy, because he's feeding off the energy of the Canadian people. Now,
we talked about that, the Liberal Party was the go-to party for South Asians for a very long time. And now, in the past few years, we saw this penetration from NDP within the South Asian voter base. And as a result, in many ridings, that led to vote splitting within the left vote, and that's led to the victory of the right wing candidate there. Are you seeing the same pattern this time around as well? Is this something that's is a reality in your riding?
It actually isn't now, because people are paying attention. Canadians are very smart. They understand the issues. They understand that, in Brampton East, there's only one party that can stop the Harper Conservatives and the Conservative candidate, which is the Liberal Party of Canada. And that's the result we're seeing on the ground. That's the result we're seeing in polls done in the riding. There's not going to be a vote split. The reason being is that people who are thinking about voting for the NDP are now knowing that when they kick the tires of the party, their policies have nothing to offer. I mean, what are they even running on? Let's talk about a few of their policies. They want to, abolish the Senate. They can't deliver on that promise because they can't amend the Constitution. You need 7 provinces that represent 50+1 of the Canadian population, and Ontario and Quebec have already said no. So they can't deliver on that promise. National childcare. They're only funding it from a federal level at 60%, and they want the provinces to chip in the other 40%. Ontario has already said no, so they can't deliver on national childcare. On minimum wage, a $15 minimum wage helps less than 1% of the Canadian population because it's only federal regulated industries. So it's going to help less than 30,000 people. That's why they're slipping. It's because, they didn't listen to Canadians when they made their platform. Why the Liberal Party is, doing so well at this moment is because the platform is still thought out that it's going to help Canadians. We're going to invest in the people. We're going to give fair immigration policies. We're going to ensure that all Canadians have an opportunity to make it in this country.
You touched upon valid points. Now let's talk about the attack ads on Mr. Trudeau. And we've seen the negative attack ads for a very long time coming from, this is one of the tactics, and I guess the largest strategy of the Conservative Party to defame or to minimize the efforts of other party leaders. The NDP's also invested into the similar kind of advertising strategy. The Liberal Party has not done that.
No.
And that has impacted the not reputation, but the momentum of the party going to election in the previous few election periods. Are you seeing some impact of that? The nice here, though, and all those different, the blitz that they have on the actual momentum in your area?
No, I think that again, Canadians are really smart, right? And where Harper plays fear and division politics, that's their recipe. That's all they do. They want to.
It's worked in the past.
It's worked, but it's not working this time. Because people have seen through it. They know that Justin's done really well in the debates, so that narrative is gone now. And with, it's unfortunate that the NDP's adopted their same strategy. about fear politics and showing that, attacking Justin, and Harper's attacking Justin, McClair's attacking Justin, and Justice is focused on the Canadian people. And he's given them such a good plan and vision for the country, which the other two lack. And the Harper decade stands for itself, right? We're in a recession, terrible unemployment numbers, worst job growth number, and McClair doesn't have a plan. So that's why the Canadian people are happy that Justin's in this election and he's listening to them. And we're going to keep a positive campaign, and we do that locally too. Our opponents can talk about us, they can do whatever they want. We're door knocking, we're building our team, we're building momentum, and we're picking up steam, and it's going, and that's why the response has been so good locally.
Now, do you think the challenge also is coming from that the Liberal Party is not the main opposition party in the Parliament, because they lost the status last time around, and now coming back to that level, surpass opposition and go into majority, which is definitely the goal of the party right now.
Yeah.
Do you think there's enough momentum to back it up?
Yes, no, 100%. In politics, waves come. And right now we see the beginnings of a wave. The trend is going the exact way that you want it to go. And it's because of hard work. Team Trudeau, 338 ridings across the country. The emphasis is on door knocking. It's about telling each individual Canadian household what our plan is. Our motto in Brampton East is one house at a time and one vote at a time. And it's democracy in its purest form. Earn the vote one at a time. And that's why the party's doing so well, is because the team is doing so well. And it's really encouraging to be a part of. I'm really excited that I've had the opportunity to run in this election, especially in my home riding in Brampton East. Every other house I knock on is a friend from high school, or I played soccer with them, or I get invited in for jaw. So it's a lot of fun.
It's like a sort of punchy elections in India. But that's good. No, it's very valid point. Now, I want to wrap it up, but I want to go into three areas that I think we talk about the seniors, we talk about youth. Let's talk about the working class.
Yes.
And what's your vision in your writing with the working class? You talk about transit and accessibility.
Yeah.
But how about the small business owners?
Yes.
And entrepreneurs?
Yes.
And just professionals, and what the party has for them in the basket?
So for middle-class Canadians, our entire platform is actually around middle-class Canadians. I mentioned a tax cut. So we're going to reduce taxes for the middle class by an effective rate of 7%, which is going to put $1,400 in everybody's pockets. Right. And that's a nice break that Canadians are paying way too much tax, and we need to give them that break. And we're also paying for it's fully costed by increasing taxes on the top 1%. And we're the only party that's willing to do that. We need to ensure that the wealthy Canadians pay their fair share, and they haven't been doing that for the last 10, 15 years. And so that's one thing for the middle class. The second thing is on small businesses, we're going to reduce their tax bracket from 11 to 9%. The reason being there is that small businesses create 78% of new jobs. And we want to invest in small businesses to ensure that they create jobs and they put food on their table, but on other tables as well. And there's a lot of success stories in Brampton East around small businesses, and we'll do whatever we can to support entrepreneurs. And I understand that overall at a macro level, you need to have fiscal responsibility and social services that are efficiently delivered. And the Liberal Party will make sure that they have those resources to invest in Canadians and give them an opportunity to succeed. The middle class is the backbone of the Canadian economy. Right. We all come from middle class families, and it's becoming, in the Harper, it's becoming more and more difficult for them to send their children to university, they're living paycheck to paycheck. I'll give you an example. On the Universal Child Credit, in July, they called it Christmas in July when they send all these child care checks to families. Two things they didn't tell families. First and foremost, that check is actually going to millionaires as well, people that don't need it, and that check is taxable. So in April, you're paying tax on that check. And the NDP supports that plan, which doesn't make any sense to me. And then the Liberal Party is introducing Canada Child Benefit that's going to take the check away from millionaires and give it to where it's needed most, which is 90% of Canadian families. And for example, if you have $45,000 household income and 2 children under the age of 18, you'll get almost $6,000 a year after tax in income. The Canada Child Benefit is going to lift 300,000 children out of poverty. This is a plan that's going to invest in Canadians, help the middle class, and grow our economy. And the only party that's sitting there and saying that these things are going to happen, whereas the other two parties are playing politics, we're talking to Canadians and we're listening to them, and that's why the platform is so good.
Fair enough. And Raj, first of all, I want to thank you so much for coming
my
over.
pleasure.
And you You definitely have very good things to say. And now, I guess when you go on door to door, the last thing I guess I'll ask you is like, are people buying into this? What you're selling now? Because you were, well, not you specifically in your writing, but the Liberal Party in general was behind the NDP for a few weeks.
Yeah.
And now they've resurged up in the polls today.
Yeah.
And there's still a few days to go when we go to the ballot one. And do you think there's enough momentum behind Justin Trudeau and the team right now? Are you feeling comfortable with that?
think it's a perfect scenario, to be honest. It's hard to hide the excitement. The trend is so beautiful that we're inching up closer and they're dropping. Both the other two parties are dropping. And it's because people are listening to Justin's plan and they're liking it. And that's why you're seeing the trend in the polls. In Ontario today, we are 43 points. The Conservatives were in the mid-30s and the NDP was at 18. Ontario has 121 seats. Right, and so Ontario and Quebec is doing very well. We're doing very well in British Columbia, and that's the path to victory. Like, I mean, every seat in the country is important, but you know, here in the GTA, where a lot of votes are, you know, it kind of goes as the country goes, and the trend and the momentum is happening at the perfect time. You know, nobody remembers the first week of the campaign. Everybody remembers what happened lately. In the last week or two, the Liberal Party's been consistently polling better, and now we're in first place, and we're going to ride that momentum all the way to October 19th.
Perfect.
And hopefully we'll be forming government.
Fair enough, and you definitely seem very excited.
Yes.
Very passionate about what you're doing, and also very optimistic. So anything in the end you want to share with the viewers here?
No, ਇਹੀ ਸਾਰੀ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਆ ਸਾਰੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬ੍ਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਈਸਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਆ, ਜਰੂਰ ਰਾਜ ਗਰੇਵਾਲ ਨੂੰ ਵੋਟ ਪਾਉਣੀ ਆ, ਸਾਡੇ ਲੈ ਕੋਈ ਸੇਵਾ ਜਰੂਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਣਾ। ਸਾਡਾ ਦਫ਼ਤਰ ਹੈਗਾ 221 ਵਿਲੀਅਮਸ ਪਾਰਕਵੇ ਈਸਟ। ਮੇਰਾ ਪਰਸਨਲ ਸੈੱਲ ਨੰਬਰ ਹੈਗਾ 416-948-3665। ਆਓ ਸਾਰੇ ਰਲ ਕੇ 19 ਅਕਤੂਬਰ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਸਟਿਨ ਟਰੂਡੋ ਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਬਣਾਈਏ ਤੇ ਰਾਜ ਗਰੇਵਾਲ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਡਾ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਆਫ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਫਰਮ ਬ੍ਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਈਸਟ।
Well, thank you so much for your time in this interview. ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਮੀਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਇਹ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਆ ਉਹ ਪਸੰਦ ਆਇਆ ਹੋਵੇਗਾ ਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਹੋਣ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਈਮੇਲ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਜਾਂ ਫੋਨ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੰਪਰਕ ਰੱਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਅਗਲੇ ਹਫਤੇ ਅਗਲੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਨਵੀਂ ਸ਼ਖਸੀਅਤ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਰੂਬਰੂ ਹੋਵਾਂਗੇ ਤੇ ਜਦ ਤੱਕ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅਮਰਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੂੰ ਦਿਓ ਆਗਿਆ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।